harvest.
Good afternoon to you, Africa. This is Emmanuel with the latest news from across the continent and the world. Algeria is stepping up its regional diplomacy as Ministers of Industry and Finance. Yahya Bouchir and Abdelkarim Bouzerd arrives in Tunisia for the 23rd Algerian-Tunisian High Joint Committee. The talks are aiming to boost investment, deepen economic ties and advance joint industrial projects. Widad Alawa explains more.
Algeria steps up its regional diplomacy as its Ministers of Industry and Finance arrive in Tunisia for the 23rd Algerian-Tunisian High Joint Committee, aiming to boost investment, deepen economic partnership, and advance joint industrial projects. The session is expected to review ongoing cooperation projects, identify new investment opportunities, and outline mechanisms to harmonize industrial policies in sectors of mutual interest. According to official sources, the agenda includes discussions on modernizing cross-border trade, enhancing industrial integration, and supporting joint ventures in manufacturing, energy, construction material, and automotive components. Both sides are also set to explore ways to increase private sector involvement, facilitate business mobility, and promote technology transfer, a cornerstone of bilateral cooperation. The Algerian-Tunisian High Joint Committee continues to embody the two countries' strong political ties and shared economic vision. The 23rd session is expected to wrap up with new cooperation agreements designed to boost competitiveness, attract investment, and expand opportunities for joint industrial projects.
Algeria's Minister of Justice Abdullah Daraji reaffirms the state's commitment to the rule of law. Marking International Human Rights Day, he emphasizes that swift justice and strong institutions remain the most effective response to terrorism. On the Human Rights Day, still, attention turns to the ongoing crisis across Africa and the occupied Palestine, where conflict and right violations continue to take heavy toll. In countries like Sudan, Mali, and Western Sahara, violence and displacement still persist. Yasmin Ben Ashur shares more.
On a day meant to celebrate hope, sadness fills many African countries because of widespread rights violations and endless displacement. In Sudan, places like Kordofan and El Fasher suffer from violence and heartbreaking attacks. In Western Sahara, attacks on people's rights continue, as confirmed by Lahsen Dalil, president of the Association for Monitoring Resources and Protecting the Environment.
We condemn these violations, which are systematic and have continued for 50 years. Therefore, we call on the United Nations and international organizations to urgently intervene to protect unarmed Sahrawi civilians in the occupied parts of Western Sahara. This only strengthens our resilience and determination to continue the struggle for all our rights and the rights of the Sahrawi people, foremost among them being self-determination, freedom, and independence.
In the Sahel region, poverty, insecurity, and limits on freedom and services are growing. Mali shows how deeply the crisis is affecting the people, with political unrest adding to their struggles. The story is similar in occupied Palestine, where bombing, blockades, and forced displacement turn even simple rights into distant dreams. On Human Rights Day, despite the pain in Sudan, Western Sahara, and the Sahel, hope shines through the courage and dignity of the people who keep standing strong against injustice and suffering.
In other news, the French authorities released the Algerian journalist and analyst Mehdi Ghazar today morning after he was briefly detained in Paris yesterday. Ghazar told Algeria International that he was held for several hours before being freed this morning. The International Contact Group for the Great Lakes, including the US, EU, and Germany, warns of renewed M23 rebel attacks near Uvira, Eastern DRC. The group highlights the use of drones, urges a halt to hostilities, respect for the UNSC resolution, and safe humanitarian access. A conference on the impact of the EU-Morocco trade agreement on the UN-led peace process in Western Sahara is being held today at the European Parliament in Brussels. It is organized by the Friends of the Sahrawi People and the European Conference of Support and Solidarity with the Sahrawi People, known as the EU COCO, to assess implementations and implications for negotiations. 19 people lost their lives in Fas after two four-story residential buildings collapsed in Al Mustaqbal neighborhood. Local reports confirm that 8 families were living in these structures. Turning to other news, the ECOWAS ministers calls for a swift measure to tackle rising security and political threats across West Africa. At the 55th Mediation and Security Council, President Omar Touré warns of a state emergency, highlighting recent coups and praises Nigeria's troop support to Benin as part of coordinated regional efforts. Events marking the International Day of Solidarity with Palestinian people take place at the UN headquarters in Addis Ababa, with 140 diplomatic missions participating. 19 Arab delegations and AU Commission chairperson attend, marking a first for the institution. The United Nations and its partners appeal for a $5.1 billion to support 24 million vulnerable people in West and Central Africa. In 2026, more than 42 million individuals across 8 countries will need urgent assistance to survive and remain safe. In cultural news, in Dakar, the 23rd Dakar Fashion Week stages its show on fishing pirogues in Atlantic, turning the ocean into an open-air runway. Founded by designer Adama Paris, the event embraces the 2025 theme, The Ocean as a Stage, and gathers creators from across Africa, reaffirming Dakar's role as a cultural hub. Concluding this harvest with the sports, as Luanda is buzzing as the 4th African Youth Game Takeaway, featuring nearly 3,000 athletes from 54 countries competing in 33 different sports until December 20th. The Games not only award medals but also serve as qualifiers for the next year's Youth Olympic Games in Senegal, the first time Africa hosts the event. And in football, Algeria has advanced to the quarterfinals of the 2025 Arab Cup of Nations after a 2-0 win over Iraq, setting up a clash with the UAE. Egypt also was surprisingly eliminated by Jordan 3-0, while Sudan bowed out after a 3-1 loss to Bahrain. And that sums up today's harvest. Thank you to paying attention to the fullest. Don't go too far and keep enjoying today's program with your favorite radio channel, Ifriqiya FM, the voice of Africa.